All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another night of romance and finance. It is 7 p.m. We are here each and every Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't miss us. Tonight, our topic is dating in your 40s versus your 20s. Everybody hear that? It's dating in your 20s or your 40s versus your 20s. My name is Tiana Moody. I'm a designer, also a realtor. And I have my business partners on the line. I have Tawana Singleton, who's a financial coach, financial literacy coach. I have Kayleen Smith, who's also a financial strategist. If you need anything to do with life insurance, retirement, hit him up, guys. I have Rashidi Locario, who's also a realtor and also a financial strategist as well. And we're here to help and serve our community. We're bringing a bridging the gap between romance and finances. And tonight we have a special guest on the line with us here to join in on our conversation tonight. We have the Miss Honeybee. Miss Honeybee, can you introduce yourself and tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Okay, so my name is Honeybee, via social media. And the nickname stands because I'm very, very busy and always got my hands in doing something, right? A little bit about myself. I am a mom of four, a grandmother, recently newly grandmother of two. And yes, I love it here. Um, they actually might snatch me from being outside at this point. But I also, am very heavily in the community doing just a little bit about everything. Whatever you can think of, I'm in the background. I don't, my face doesn't need to be up front. I like to be in the background, just doing what I do. But I also am a wellness coach. I am a fitness coach. I do have my own podcast, Honeybee Come Talk With Me. I've been in hiatus because, of course, I'm going through some medical issues right now. So until I recover, I'm going to be laying low. But, I still use my page to have discussions and, rehash old discussions that I've created in the past for conversations, because I'm a firm believer that when it comes to relationships, there's a disconnection between men and women. And the disconnection is because we listen to respond versus listening to hear. Okay.
Absolutely.
So that
Yes.
said, just to correct, I am 52, so I'm over the 40. Over the 40, but
Yeah.
I would hope that, I can bring some of my experience in talking to, you know, my followers and getting their point of view, because what I did was I posted this question on, I believe, Friday or Saturday night, and I got a lot of good feedback from it. And people have a story to tell, and they put it like this: the difference between 20 and 40 is a huge difference.
It is.
That
It is.
part.
Yeah. Well, listen, we thank you for joining us. I'm pretty sure our would love to hear your opinion, hear your voice, and what you have to say. Thank you for also inviting your guests on to watch us tonight. So we definitely appreciate it. And so let's get into it, guys. Dating in your 40s versus your 20s. What was dating in your 20s like for you, T?
Oh gosh. Well, let's put it this way. From 18 to 26, I was in a relationship with my son's father. Straight relationship. So I didn't date. I was already in, like, a married life.
Mm-hmm.
Up until 26. When we split up at 26, I wasn't dating. I was clubbing. I was making up. I was making up for the time that I missed when I was 18, 20, 21. So I was out partying. Um, I was doing everything that a young adult would do,
Yeah.
pretty much. I was even say then, because of course I date, not like dated. It was just more like mingling, because I wasn't trying to get in a serious relationship after
Mm-hmm.
being with someone for 10 years. Um, so it was different, I will say, because you got to think about where your mindset is in your 20s.
Mm-hmm.
We're free spirited. We
Yep.
kind of just going with the flow. We're not thinking of doing anything particularly very responsible. And it was about having fun. So thinking about where I was in my 20s compared to where I am now, my mindset is totally different. So can we really compare 20s to 40s? Because I really think it's the mindset and how we move, in that era.
Yeah. What about you guys? What are guys looking for in their 20s versus their 40s?
Listen, me and Kay had some adventures in our 20s. Of course, we're cousins, and in our 20s was definitely we were doing a lot. In our 20s, we definitely just looking to have fun, having a good time, going to clubbing, partying, and honestly just talking to girls. Like that was our goal. That was it. Just, having our own place and just talking to as many women as possible. I'm being honest. So
I remember you saying you were in love at one time, and the girl broke your heart. Was that why you were in your 20s?
No, that was after. That was later. No, but the 20s was just fun. Honestly, it was just having fun, having a good time. As young men, that's kind of how we figure out who we are. In your 20s, we going through the growing pains. We learning as men how to be men, how to pay our own bills. Like I said, having our own place, that type of stuff. So it was all just fun in the 20s. I mean, understanding different women, what I actually look for, trying to understand what I enjoy, and just a lot of fun. It was all fun and games in the 20s for me.
Like we did, to Rob's point, there was times where there was no sleep. That's how much fun we was having. Because dating back then, we were all over the place. I'm talking about like staying up until 5-6 o'clock in the morning and then going to work right after that.
That's true.
I would remember dropping right off to work right after we done partied all night in the city. And then I went to work after that. Like literally straight to work right after that. So
wow.
For us, there was no intentions of us, to be honest with you, settling down. We were just living life. We were just existing at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, we're trying to find ourselves. Why? Because at those ages, we were like fresh right out of high school. So now we're in college at this point. We're having fun. So there was no commitment there. There was no intention. Like I said, it was just us literally just having fun.
And the other thing too, at that time, back in the day, we actually had jobs. What I mean? So for young males and African American males at that point too, to have actual jobs, like we was on top of the world. Mm-hmm. So all our concern was just having fun. We had our own place and everything like that. So it was just a party nonstop. To Kayleen's point, we would go out, get out the club at 4 o'clock, get to the house about 4:30, take a shower. Kay dropped me off. I used to work at Home Depot at the time when I was 20. Dropped me off at Home Depot at 5 o'clock. Just got done having a drink prior to, work that shift, come home, nap for like 3 more hours, and then go back out and do it again.
Wow.
So that was kind of our lives. Especially
How old are you guys, if you don't mind me asking now?
What you say one more time?
How old are you guys, both of you?
I'm 39 now.
38.
Yeah.
Okay, so closer to 40.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we're more mature now. I know that's what you're kind of getting at a little bit. Yeah, way more mature now. We're grown adults. We're doing none of that stuff now.
Just checking.
So with that being said, based off of what you guys are telling me, no woman in their right mind had any business looking to settle down with you at that age.
Absolutely. You're correct. Absolutely. 100% correct. Absolutely. There was no way. I mean, the good thing about us, and myself, I'm pretty transparent. So, any woman that I was talking to, they knew what it was in terms of, I'm just finding myself, and my MO was, listen, if you're the one, you're the one. You know what I mean? Like that was always my go-to line. I meant it. I believed it. But that was my MO though. Like, hey, listen, if you're going to get me out of here and get me in a relationship in my early 20s, you're the one for me. If not, you're just not.
Okay. All right, Honeybee, how was your experience of dating in your 20s versus now?
Well, I was a young mom of two beautiful daughters who are now grown women
Mhm.
in their early 30s at an early age. So by 22, I had two young kids to
Mhm.
take care of, right? Um, but it didn't stop me from going out and having fun in my 20s. What I was grateful for was an understanding grandmother who said, you know what, you're young, go out and enjoy yourself. She would keep the kids for me and come back tomorrow.
Mhm.
I was lucky for that.
Yeah, very
And
lucky.
that gave me the freedom to go out and have some fun. Because, you know, early on, I did find myself in a relationship that didn't work out, which was
Mhm.
their father. And I want to say between 22 and 28, I had fun. I played the game just the way the guys did, right? Because if they knew what it was, they knew what it was, right? uh, that's what you said, right?
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay.
Absolutely. As you
So
should.
I was lucky in that sense to be able to understand what that time meant and what it meant for me, because it made me appreciate when my husband I met at about 28 did come along. I was able to appreciate who he was and what I was looking for in a relationship, as well as what I needed for myself and my daughters at the time. So
Nice.
yeah, yeah. And I truly tell my daughters, your 20s are, enjoy it. I tell, and not just my daughters, but any young people, your 20s are to have fun. Enjoy
Yep,
it,
I agree with that.
because it's going to come a time when you're going to want to settle down. And it's nothing wrong with that. It's just, you know, enjoy what that young, vibrant, get up and go safely, okay? Because everyone thinks dating means sex, but and even if you are having sex while you're dating, enjoy it, but safely.
Yeah,
That's I give the advice. That's my advice.
nice, nice.
Hmm.
Well, for me, well, I would tell I am 36, 36 going on 37. And for myself, I'm kind of like T, a very relationship type of girl. I usually in a relationship for long periods of time. So I actually had a boyfriend in ninth grade all the way through my whole high school phase. I had a boyfriend. The
Hmm.
worst idea I could ever give anybody. You should never have a boyfriend when you're young because it ties you up. And I like all the experiences I probably should have had. I just didn't get the chance to experience it in that way because I was freaking married in high school. Like, who does that?
Yeah. You were a wife before you were even a wife.
Exactly. Like, who does that? So,
Right.
so I went to college, and I'm originally from Hartford, Connecticut, and just like I'm pretty sure a lot of my peers in at that time, I just couldn't wait to get out of there. So that was my goal. Just I'm going to college so I could get out of here.
Mhm.
That'll so when as soon as I finished with high school, I went to Florida. I went to Florida for college. And let me tell you, I had the time of my life.
Yeah, as you should.
Yeah, I had the time of my life. So, it was a lot of fun. And I didn't break up with my boyfriend until that first year, my freshman year of college. So once we finally broke up, just like T, I was going out, partying, learning about different men. And I had my fear of different types too, because I'm not afraid to go outside of my box sometimes.
Hmm.
So I was just having an experience. But one thing I can say is, as a young female, you should not tie yourself up into a relationship. You should definitely have fun and enjoy your life and have experiences so you can find out what you like, what you don't like. Because I think that's why a lot of women, they find themselves in what they call the whole phase. Right? It's like when you just go crazy because you just been tied up for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that didn't really last long. And then when I was in college too, I did something crazy. Like, because this show is about finances, right? We talk about the dumb things we do when we're younger. So when I was in college, I wanted a nice car. So for my aunt had messed up one of my cars. So it was time for me to get a new one. And that by that time, used to back in the days when colleges give you student loans, they send you the check right to your house back in the days. Like you could apply for a student loan and that check is coming to you and your parents. So I never forget. So I was like, I want me a nice car. I went and bought a Jaguar. I'm 19 years old.
Wow.
I'm 19 years old, riding in Tampa, Florida, with an all-white Jag on 22s.
Wow.
So I was feeling myself. So that was my 20s. It was lit. But I met my husband when I turned when I was 22. I met my husband, my now husband, and I got pregnant with my first son at 23. So my living in my 20s of like being single and free and outside was very short. Very short, but I did enjoy it. But what I can say is I feel like when you're young, you should not be in a serious relationship. You should kind of be exploring, experiencing, having fun. Not to say that you have to sleep with every man that you come across, but you should definitely be dating and seeing what you like and learning how to, I don't know, maneuver through these dating streets, because it's rough.
Yeah. Understanding what your needs are of
Yeah.
yourself and then of that relationship. Because to this day, I think a lot of women do not know what they really need.
Right.
Men are pretty plain. It is what it is. You get what you get. But for us women, we tend to have a lot more that we request of that relationship. Yeah. And not only that, of ourselves too. It to be in a relationship. So unless you know what that looks like, what it feels like, what it sounds like, have an idea in your head, you shouldn't be in a relationship. You shouldn't be just jumping into a relationship, because all you're going to do is end up getting into something that was not really meant for you in the first place.
Yep.
Right?
That's so true. It's so true.
I will say, just kind of to piggyback off of that and to kind of bring something else into the topic, like thinking back when I was out there dating, at the beginning, and like you, T, it wasn't long that I was out there just having fun. After a while, I was ready to settle down. After a while, after I would say about a good 3 years, I was ready to be in another committed relationship. And I think that was more so to be growing up down south. And just to kind of come back on what Hillary said about dating in your 20s and, seeing what you really want. I actually grew up in a culture where, a lot of my high school sweetheart, high school class are married to their high school sweethearts and are still with them. So I grew up down south where, you get married early, 18, 19, out of high school or probably right out of college, and you're with them for longevity. Not to say that they have perfect marriages down there, but they are still together. So like when I go down there, like all of them are still, they're married to their high school sweetheart. So for me, being in a committed relationship at such an early age was normal for me, and like you said, I didn't know what I needed, which is why when we broke up after the 10 years, it was just like, okay, what else is out there? Like to experience other things that was out there was like, whoa, this is something that I should have did when I was younger. But of course, that was the culture that I grew up in, thinking that my son's father was going to be my husband and we was just going to grow old together, because that's the way I grew up. But thinking about the type of men or guys, I won't even say men, guys back then when I was out there dating, like, so my son's father is from the streets, right? So I've been in a relationship with a guy who was just like from the streets. Now, mind you, I'm a Southern Belle. When I first came up here, I'm a Southern Belle. So it was a culture shock moving directly into Hartford on Vine Street. Like, so I was dead smack in the hood, right? So total culture shock. I had to adapt to my environment very quickly, like that little sudden good morning, how are you?
Right.
That had to change. So thinking about the type of men up here, when I started dating was totally different from the men down south, right? And thinking back then what I was looking for, I was into hood dudes.
Right.
And I don't know if it was because I was with my son's father for so long. Like that's the type of man that I wanted back in those days. Like hood dude, he had to be with the Timbs, the jeans, the fitted.
Right.
Like that's what I look for.
Sound like y'all watching too many rap videos.
That's what I was attracted to in like my late 20s. Like I didn't, know anything other than that. And if you was anything other than that, to me, you was a cornball.
Right.
Like, I'm dealing with you. So back then, I think dating back then, again, it was just different because that's the type that I was looking for back then. Yeah. Nowadays, like, give me a cornball, give me a Sierra husband who you know what I'm saying, like, or
whoa, don't also
not
Russell is the rule, like he is the blueprint we should aim for,
right?
And he is not a cornball.
That's right. No, it's so funny
that understands what it takes to keep to make sure that he keeps the woman on his arm that looks like that. Smart.
Right. No, you're so right about that, T, because I had when I was on my break, I had this one guy. Oh my God. So he was funny looking, right? He did not have the swag. It wasn't there, but he was so nice. And he would take me out to dinner. And when he take me out to dinner, he opens the door for me, make sure that, coming in and out the car, like I couldn't lift a finger with him. Like he was so nice, but it was scary. I was like, this guy is too nice. It's scaring me. Like,
and
why is it that when we are young, that's like a turn off for you, for a guy to be overly nice? It's like he's doing all the right things. I don't know if this guy is the one for me.
Well, I don't know, because I remember in my 20s dating the muscle bound, always in the mirror at the gym, those type of guys, right? And the guy I married was a total opposite. He was total opposite. And it's funny, I wasn't even attracted to my husband when I met him. What attracted me was his mind in our conversations and the things that we talked about and the way he treated me, right? But I do realize that sometimes people still don't even know themselves when they're meeting at 28 years old, and after 24 years, we're in the process of getting a divorce because it just didn't work out that way. So even though I had that nice guy, at some point along the relationship changed. And it wasn't no longer that nice guy that I met, the one that made all the great promises to make sure that, I could live like a Sierra. In other words, right? I could be treated like a Sierra. I didn't get that in the end. So I'm just saying, it's still, had I probably known what I needed and wanted from the get-go, I would have definitely not gotten married. So again, you got to know yourself. You got to know what you want, and everything comes from a healed place. And a lot of us are walking around, we're not healed.
True.
We're getting into relationship after relationship. We're not taking those breaks that we need so we can focus on ourselves to know what it is that we really need from ourselves, from inside first, right? So, for me, that's where I know I'm at. I'm just really paying attention because I see a lot out here, and according to many of my my followers and a few of them are really good friends, there's pee in the water.
I like that one. I mean, yeah, brought up some good
water,
points.
y'all.
I mean, yeah, brought up some good points. But
let me tell you what I think.
Hold
Let me tell you what I think real quick. This is why I think. Remember, back in the day, I mean, I know in my 20s, cell phones wasn't really a thing. When you went out to meet somebody, when you met someone, you went out to meet that person. Right? Now, everything is, we want to text, what you doing? A lot of abbreviations, right? All that stuff. people don't want to have conversations anymore. Even when you go out, the guys are against the wall, the girls are on the dance floor. You notice that when you go out, women tend to go out with their girlfriends. Guys are at home on the couch. And the way I hear it, that's where guys like to be, on the couch. They feel like it's better to be home, right? But you had to go out to meet people. Nowadays, we're not doing that anymore. And then we're using these technology to be able to be what you're doing, or, you know, you come over and let's watch a movie. And I don't mind watching a movie, but we're not going to watch a movie every day. We're not going to watch a movie every weekend. Like, you got to at some point leave the house and be able to have a relationship, to be able to talk to each other face to face, right? And not be distracted by the TV or a movie or whatever, right?
Yeah, nowadays women want you to cash app them. If you ask me what I'm doing, you better send a cash app.
We're honestly not having real adult communication with each other, and that is the root of the problem of why it is that. So there's so much pee in the water.
Okay, fellas.
Okay,
y'all
so
been quiet.
guys.
We've been talking.
Well, let's check those comments. They got any comments?
Yeah, check the comments here.
Well, yeah, I have some comments. Rhonda says, well, what I said to my daughter was, your body is your temple. And once you give your body away, there's nothing much more you can give them. Also, you don't do the same thing with everyone you sleep with.
Okay.
Shout out to Rhonda. What else do we have here? We have Joanna. She says she agrees there is pee in the dating pool. She also says, I really enjoyed dating in my 20s. Party, party, party. And then she also says, I think a lot of us have dated Roughneck back in the day. Shout out to North Philly.
Oh gosh. Okay, guys, y'all been quiet. Y'all letting us run. This isn't normal.
Yeah, we listening.
Yeah,
something
we
something
listening.
that y'all ladies say we never do. We trying to practice that now.
Oh, really?
Actually listen. You know?
No time like the present.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you guys. You know, being that you had the wild, crazy experience in your 20s, you know, you got to party, as you say, you know, plenty of different, probably dated a lot of different women, had a lot of different experiences. As Rob would say, the DM is still blowing up. How would you guys, what are you looking for now that you're reaching into your 40s? What are you what has changed about you as a man?
I mean, for me, you know, it's one of those things where, to be clear to all of your women's points, as men, we knew that, to the point that Tawana made and even you made, T, as a man that, you know, was nice, you know, all that type of stuff. It's not necessarily a real thing. Meaning that as a male, for me, I talk to myself, I can identify quickly if I'm a woman's type. You know what I mean? And the reality of the situation is, to your point, it's nothing wrong. You know, there's nothing wrong being a nice guy, all that type of stuff. But the truth is, at that age, I knew that certain women weren't going to, you know what I mean, weren't to take me serious, or weren't going to put me on that level that I wanted to be put on, because I knew who I was. Because, to your point, where we come from, that's what gets the attention. You being extra wild and extra out of control. And it's interesting that y'all say that, because that is the truth. Like, you know, I grew up in New York City, so I grew up in the rough part, just like everybody else. You know what I mean? But, you know, also still had a strong family background, that type of stuff. You know, and also had a male father in my life. So even though I grew up in that area, you know, and it's funny that you say that, because a lot of males, the reason why they act that way is because they don't necessarily have fathers in their life. They don't necessarily have those figures. So they don't know how to act or act out. But naturally, it comes off as he's extra strong, he's aggressive, or XYZ. But no, in reality, they're actually pretty soft. And not taking shots at the males out there. But to your point, that's why in the 20s, for me, we didn't necessarily have to take women that serious, because we knew at the end of the day, we had to get treated to a certain level. And the difference between now and then is that, you know, it takes time to develop into who you want to be as a man. meaning that going into my mid-20s, you know, for me, like I had my first son, my only son, but, you know, I had my son, you know, I knew where I wanted to be and I knew what goals I was getting done. And as I got older, now I started to slow down because I know now it's time to accomplish certain goals, you know, financially and for career-wise. And so therefore, as time went on, I didn't want a woman that was wild. You know what I mean? Because that could disturb my peace. You know what I mean? The main distraction, honestly, as a man is, you know, if your woman is, if you, and not to label as one, but if your woman is wild or if your woman is too much headache, like it'll distract you. It'll set you way back. Mm-hmm. So for me, it wasn't really a transition. It was just understanding that, hey, I'm getting a little bit older and I need somebody that's more of my speed and it's not going to distract me, you know? So that's kind of like my take on it, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, well, for me, I didn't honestly start taking women seriously until my mid-20s. Like, that's when I started taking women seriously. Before then, it was a joke. Like I wasn't taking out seriously at all. Like I said, he's having fun, right? That transition for me, was I wanted the stability because we were actually too wild. Like, there was a point in time like we were, like I said, don't want to tell too much, but we were like too wild. We was crazy, right? Mm-hmm. I needed that balance. I needed to calm down as I was getting older, which I did, right? I started actually getting into a committed relationship. And the reason why I needed that is because I needed to grow and to evolve as a person. Mm-hmm. And naturally that happens when you get older. You're not really into the same things anymore. It gets whack dealing with like 2-3 girls at one time. Mm-hmm. You know, it's tiring, you know, like, so all those things play a factor. And then like now getting into where I'm at now, touching 40, I want to experience new things with mm-hmm. one person constantly. Mm-hmm. That's what it is for me. You know, it's not about like going to you can go to someplace luxurious. We can go out the country and go different places, but it's more about just doing different things with that one person, sharing those different experiences with that one person for whatever that may be. That could be from the smallest things, from going to a nice little vegan restaurant, all the way somewhere to Aruba where we in some private location. You get what I'm saying? So it's the experiences for me growing as a person and sharing that with that one person. You know, that's me. That's what I'll take on it.
Yeah, no, I feel you on that because it's like now, you want chill experiences. Like before it was like we said, party. Like right now, if the TV is too loud, you like,
like turn that down.
That's true.
I can't think. So you definitely have to find some kind of commonality in the person that you're with, because some people could be too annoying, some people could talk too much, some people, you know, it's like it's like you're away from all of the distractions, right? There's no more partying, there's no more loud music. Like you're simply at a dinner looking at each other from across the table. It's like, what are we talking about? So you actually do have to find somebody that you actually like. You know, it's not like before where you just looking at somebody based off of the fact that they're attractive. Like that only goes but so far. And Sanice brought up another very good point. She says, financially and spiritually, is it more expensive to date in your 20s or your 40s? How were you guys affording these dates, or were you not dating at all? She was just willing to just come over and blockbuster because back then
I had a lot of those. I'll be real with you, man. Like blockbuster and chill, right?
Blockbuster and chill.
Like I had a lot. I mean, I did go on dates, but that was me for the most part though. Like we just chilling. Like they know time. They knew what time it was.
Did you buy food? Did you buy food, Kay?
I bought food. Sometimes I cooked a little something, you know, rolled up a couple of joints and had some Henny or some Paul Mason. You know what I'm saying?
Paul Mason. Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So it was still a good vibe. It was hood romantic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was hood romantic. Nah, I mean, for me, to be honest with you, I had kind of like, you know, a nice balance because, you know, my mother is Jamaican while my father is, you know, from Guatemala, Honduras as far as background, but still American. So he was more of that, you know, my father is more of that lover boy style where it's woman, you know, everything for my woman. But my mother is kind of like, don't let women take advantage of you. So like I had that nice, unique blend. So for me, it was kind of like I was just creative to my natural personality. So like I was always the type of dude like, listen, we went out on dates. Like when I was dating, we went out on dates. We'll go out to a little restaurant, but I did creative things. Like, you know what I mean? Like I go to a nice restaurant on happy hour time. So you know what I mean? We in a nice atmosphere. It's happy hour. I spent $48 and we had a good time. Because, you know, honestly, I knew enough to know that you still got to create the atmosphere to get a woman in her most comfortable space. So I always created that space on a budget. So on the outside, from a woman's perspective, it looked like, oh wow, like this is amazing. But in the meantime, like I said, the bill was like $48 and I'm chilling. You know what I mean? So I definitely was creative in that side in terms of romance and stuff like that. You know, overall. So yeah, we did go on dates. And back then, to be honest with you, I think for us, like I said, we were working at that time. You know, we were working like decent jobs, you know what I mean, getting paid decent amount of money. And you know, even to the point to where that, you know, one of the jobs I had where, you know, my first little grown man job working at, you know, Avis and Budget, it was an hourly rate plus commission. You know what I mean? Renting people cars. So at that time, I was on top of the world. I was living in Connecticut at that time, actually. Yeah, we was chilling. Yeah. And so we had a lifestyle where it was just like, because believe it or not, Connecticut is a place where people rent cars. It's kind of like California where people love their cars. And we'd hook people up with deals. We were the kings of the cities. We go into barbershops, free haircuts. Liquor stores, free bottles. You know what I mean? Clubs, we in VIP. Because we hooking everybody up with a rental car. And we get in commission on top of that with the job that we have. So it was like the checks were fat and we had no responsibilities and no kids at the time. So we actually did go on dates. We did spend money on stuff. We weren't, you know, we weren't like tricking or nothing like that. But it'd be like I said, like we had our thing together. We had a night, we was living in a house together. You know what I mean? We had a car, like, you know what I mean? We had like grown man stuff, even though we were mature at that time, but we had 30, 40-year-old man stuff at 20. Yeah. So we were acting a plum fool during that time. Yeah, you know what I mean? So
got it.
Yeah. Listen,
yeah, you know, so yeah, we was bugging out.
I think a lot of women at that age are really not even looking for a date, so to go anywhere or do anything. We just want you to show us off in front of your friends.
Spend money.
Yes,
buy us drinks.
All of that. All right, so we got some comments. Stephen Morant, shout out to Stephen. He says, I'm glad that women are finally able to admit to us what us as men already knew.
Getting spicy.
Tamara Tate, shout out to Tamara. She says, Kay, she loves that. An experience with one person, not poly. One.
I knew that was coming.
Shots fired. I appreciate that, though. Appreciate it.
Not three. Okay. Joanna says, very good point. And yeah, she said, not Blockbuster. She's cracking up.
Hollywood Video.
I'm telling you,
like, listen.
Shout out to Tanya Dunnan. She says 20s was carefree, 40 whole different ball game. Mm-hmm. And Nikki Brooks says definitely more expensive in the 40s. Mistakes in your 40s are harder to recover from, financially and spiritually. Yeah, shout out to Nikki. Yeah, that's so true. Let's talk about that a little bit more. Recovering from.
I think that's important because we, like what we just said, we've had a lot of fun. We've made mistakes, but we were able to recover. You
Back
know, so
then.
now we can't literally afford to make those mistakes. You know, it'll be a harder comeback. So one, doesn't even make sense to do, but two, the point is the younger you are, the more mistakes you can afford to make. So make them. You know, if you're gonna fail fast. You know, don't wait for that to happen. So shout out. You know, who was that? Who said that?
Nikki Brooks.
And failures are lessons, people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, we could I don't mind the word fail. I just like it to be noted. Failure is a lesson waiting to be learned.
Mhm.
So
Right.
if you're gonna do it, like you said, in your 20s, do it fast. Get it done.
Right.
'Cause when
So,
you get to
Right.
be 30 and 40, room for error is like
very, very
Yeah.
small. So, Honey B, I was gonna say with your situation, you talked about how you were in a relationship very early on and it didn't work out, right? Kind of the promises that were made in the beginning just didn't pan out. What are some of the advice can you give a young girl who's probably in a relationship? She's hearing a lot of promises right now. This is going to happen. I'm going to make sure I'm going to buy you a house by the time we get to 30. The kids' school going to be paid for. We probably going to be living in another island by the time you 35. I'm going to have us retire. And now you're going on in the relationship. You see he still's with the same job. Y'all haven't really made any progress in your relationship. What kind of advice you give to that girl that's been holding on to these promises for so long with this guy who's just been promising her the world and it ain't what it is?
The number one advice I would give is, especially as a woman, which I wish someone had told me, was make sure that you have your own coming into a relationship. And by that, your own savings, your own checkings. Yeah. Make sure that you have your own. Do not depend on a man to carry you. Right. And I'm not saying that I did that per se, because remember, I met my husband, I had 2 young daughters and they were like 3 and 4 at the time. But he decided to, be with me, decided to be with my daughters. He raised them as his own. It just didn't pan out that we would last forever. Right. But definitely for me, the biggest lesson I've learned is to make sure that I have my own, because I found myself in my relationship always trying to prove that I could make it on my own without my husband. And that was a constant fight for us, because it's like, why are you trying to do this on your own? Well, I had to prove something to myself, because in the same nutshell, when you hear, what if I wasn't here? What if I'm not around? You're telling me that you need me to be self-sufficient on my own, right? And when I'm trying to do that, I'm getting resistance. So we end up not seeing eye to eye on a lot of things. And it goes deeper than that, but I'm not ready to tell the whole story yet. That being said, definitely make sure that you understand what you need. Again, I keep saying this, the word is need. What you need of yourself for you to have a successful relationship, and what you need from the person that you want to be with. Know that person, get to learn that person. I find that women are, we're not dating anymore to get to know people. We're dating to date exclusively. And then you find yourself stuck in this relationship with someone that you don't even like or want to be with. Make it make sense, right? Especially for us that are in our, 40s and up, we're finding ourselves in these relationships that we put so much time and effort. We've become the wife. We're taking care of his kids, our own kids, his family, our family, and you're not getting anything in return for it. The other thing that I'm not liking is listening to these podcasts today with, the young men that, especially with women of color, where I keep hearing how, angry we are, how difficult we are, how much of a gold digger we are. No one wants to be called those names, because then when I sit there and think about it, now, are you talking about your mother, your aunt, your grandmother? Who are you referring to? Because I'm not that person, right? So we have to be mindful that we need to know what it is that we need of ourselves and our relationship. So you don't get accused and abused mentally and emotionally in a relationship for things that you're not even, right? They say men know what a man can meet a woman today and know he's going to marry her tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
right? Guys, yes, no?
I mean, this is the thing. I think that I mean it's possible. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I think for men, it's not just that we can meet a woman and marry tomorrow, because it is a possible thing. But I think that for the most part, generally speaking, men are pretty clear
Mm-hmm.
on their boundaries. Where generally speaking, women are not don't necessarily hold up their boundaries.
Yep.
What do I mean by that? You know, it's one of those things where if a woman disrespects me, I'll have a conversation like, hey, I think what you did was disrespectful, and I'll address it, you know, and try to come up with a solution. And if she learns from that behavior, there's no problem. We can go forward.
Mm-hmm.
But if it happens 2 or 3 more times, she's done.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so I think, though, generally speaking, not all women, a lot of women, to your point, those red flags are always there.
Mm-hmm.
But, and this, I'm not speaking for all men, but typically speaking, women typically want to help change a man or feel they can help fix a man. But the truth is, you really can't. And so it's just addressing those red flags immediately when they happen. But for men, honestly, a lot of times we cut that out. Like when we boundaries are crossed, most of the time there's a couple things that happen. Either that man's going to be real mature, address it, you didn't fix it, and he leaves, or he's going to be immature, stay in that relationship and don't have as much respect for you. And he's disrespecting himself and disrespecting you. And now it turns into a vicious cycle. And that's what happens. And then, you know, in that case, unfortunately, that woman's boundaries keeps getting violated, and he keeps selling the dream because he knows that,
boom,
you know, that woman is in love with them and is developing and all that type of stuff. But at the same time, he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing, but he knows he can still keep you with that hope and that dream. He knows he can keep you with the promises, like you said. I can do this. We're going to be this. We're going to do that. But truth be told, most men, to your point, we know if we want to keep you. We know if we want to marry you. We know if we want to be with you in long-term thing. That I will agree. We identify that very quickly.
Yes.
There's a key difference, like when we're dating women, like I could be dating somebody I could be dating somebody and not make her my girlfriend for a year. It's completely possible. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I already identified that she's not going to be my girlfriend. You know what I mean? Yeah. I express these things. I'm a pretty transparent guy, you know, an XYZ. But even expressing it, someone will still stay. You know what I mean? And then ask the question, I don't understand.
I love your answer.
What happened?
So my response to that is this. You know, in giving advice, ladies, do not come across as the wife before you even get the ring, right? Because that's what we do. We're packing lunches, we're leaving the notes, we're doing everything we're supposed to do. We're washing the clothes, we're keeping house, we're raising his kids, his family, everything. That's wife stuff. Yes, there's a difference between girlfriend and wife. Stay in your lane.
Very much so.
Stay in your lane.
That's right.
Oh, my young sister, stay in your lane.
I disagree with that.
Wait, go ahead. Wait,
no, it was gonna change the subject, but since they want to elaborate on that, I would just to piggyback off of what Hillary is saying is, I kind of agree with that because I'm in my 40s and I'm dating, right? So let's talk about what the dating game is these days. Mm-hmm. And this is lessons that I learned, you know, even through my trauma. I'm still healing as well. I've said that multiple times on here. But I noticed what I've been doing differently. And it goes right to what Hillary is saying. Like I got to a point where I was talking with somebody and it was just like being on the phone 4 or 5 hours out the day, like literally while I'm working on the phone, talking, texting throughout the day, like giving all my time and all of this to that person. So, and it's just like, and not only that, having certain conversations, and we didn't touch on this, and I know we only got 10 minutes to go, but maybe we can make this a part 2 because us women tend to tell our trauma to men way ahead of time. Mm-hmm. That's a whole nother that's another podcast.
That's a whole nother one.
Yeah,
right.
I found testimony on that one.
And they will use it to manipulate you.
Right. Exactly. So even in the dating game now, like I peeped that, telling that up front wasn't a good thing because they knew what to say because of my trauma, right? And I just started noticing it. So now I find myself, if I come across a guy that I'm dating, it's like I'm not having no routine. Like, it's not every morning wake up, good morning. It's like I call you when I call you or text you when I text you now. It's not setting those relationship, putting those things in place as if we're in a relationship. And I started doing that with someone, and then I was like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? And knowing that I'm not really ready for a relationship, but why am I doing this? So to Hillary's point, I think at our age now, in our era now, if you're in your 40s or above, like as women, we have to be careful now because like you guys said, y'all already know what y'all want. We women, we're so emotional, and we're looking for something that we give that because that's what we're trying to get. We don't typically see what y'all see at the beginning and be like, oh, well, I know this could be just my girlfriend because she's gonna allow me to date her for maybe 2 to 3 years before I even ask her to marry me. Women don't do that. So I just wanted to agree with Hillary on that point because that's something that I find myself doing now. It's like, now it's no routine. I'm not calling you every morning. I'm not going to sleep with you on the phone every night.
Right.
I'm not doing that. So
right. I love what both of you ladies had to say. But what I will always also like to point out is something that Ross said, which another one of our audience or viewers highlighted the same thing, is that men don't compromise on what they want and need. And I realized that just even in my marriage and my relationships, I realized that men don't. We are, as women, we're so emotional that we tend to, like Ross said, oh, I know she's in love, so she's probably going to allow it. Like, we got to stop being so emotional to the point where they are using it to manipulate us because they know that we are going to look past certain things based off of how we feel. And men don't operate that way. Even to the point where if it's something that they want to do or somewhere they want to go, they're going to book the trip. We're going to feel bad. We're going to think about the kids, doing XYZ before we feel all the mom guilt, all the woman guilt, the girlfriend guilt comes up. But the men, they will book and go. You hear me? With no quick, without even thinking about it, thinking twice. So I feel like we need to step it up on that level where we have to stop putting so many compromising with them if they're not willing to compromise with us in exchange too. It takes it's a two-way street.
Two things to go off what you said, just to address real because I know we're running out of time. Well, the first thing is nobody should be a pushover, and nobody should allow pushovers. With that said, men are very logical creatures. Now, you ladies were talking about getting pushed over and boundaries and all that type of stuff and using manipulation. To be clear, it's very simple. If you tell me you don't like steak, I'm not going to feed you steak. So to be clear, like, men are very logical creatures. That's how we operate. So it's not that we're just manipulating you. We're not going to do things that you don't like. We're just simply just logical. So it's not that we're just trying to manipulate you.
Yeah,
and then to the point, I'm just saying, if we know you don't like steak, we're not going to give you steak. It's not benefit. It's just that simple. And to Hillary's point, no, you absolutely. I'll be 100% honest with you. I need to know that you're going to be a wife before you be my wife. 100%. I will never accept that. 100%. I'll be honest with you. And any man that will accept that is not the man for you. The reason being is that you have to set your boundaries as a woman. That's what it really boils down to. And emotions do get involved, and we're both in it. We both make mistakes and all that type of stuff. But at the end of the day, I need to know that you're going to be the woman I need to be because it's forever. Correct. You know what I mean? And that's our intentions. And even with men, because we are logical people, even if we're in a relationship, this is why it's a real statistic, hands down. Women are mostly the ones that initiate divorces, meaning that as a man, my prerogative is to protect and provide. And even if I'm not as happy, whatever the case is, I'm going to continue to do those things no matter what. You know what I mean? I'll take it. We'll go to the grave, and I will still be married to you. That is the reality of the situation. So for men, absolutely not. We have to know you're going to be a wife. You have to do those things. What it is that if he doesn't have a plan and he's truly not a leader, you have to identify that and you have to lead. But unfortunately, most women do not identify that and they do not lead. And then you find yourself in that situation where, to your point, you are being a wife to the wrong man. But the truth is, if he means you well and all that type of stuff, you can see it. You just can't. You can't. Women can't get in the habits of picking up red flags. That's just the truth, personally, in my opinion, when it comes to that.
And just real quick, just to kind of piggyback what you're saying, when it comes to you have to be. You can't. How can I say it? You got to know what you want out of this life. You got to know what you want in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You as a girlfriend and you want to be a wife, but you still doing girlfriend things, but you want to be a wife. You have to already act like the wife in order for the man to see, okay, this is because we're looking at the future. We're looking at the overall overview picture. If I'm looking at this woman and I'm like, yo, this woman could possibly be my wife, it's because she's doing things that I would want in a wife. If you are doing things that just a girlfriend would do, that's what you're going to stay.
Mm.
And the problem is a lot of women, they'll do girlfriend things still expecting to be a wife. You need to show that. It's like, think about like going for a job. If I'm the employer, you going on an interview, I got to see your resume. I got to see that you can be able to take on the duties of this job. You already got to act in that role if you really want this role. But how you going to do it if you just giving me girlfriend duties or girlfriend vibes?
Okay, so that was another question that I was going to ask too before we end, and then I want to read some comments. But my question was, why is it that it seems to be that men in their 40s tend to look for younger women and not women their age? Oh,
that's an easy one. I mean, as far as that, first off, I don't want to say it's easy. That came out wrong, but but what it is the truth be told is that, to all of your points that you made tonight, is that when you're an older woman and you're of age and you're wiser, you're definitely wiser. You also understand in your season, there's things that you're not willing to budge or bend on. So me dating a woman that's 40 and above, like, you're 100% getting that woman who she is, and that's what it is. And not saying that she's not willing to bend, she bends a lot less, and that's okay. It just means that those matches have to be a real match. Versus a younger woman, she's more moldable, and it's not a control thing. That's not where I'm going with it.
She's coachable,
but she's coachable because she's willing to learn and adjust, and it is a contributing factor is because she doesn't have that experience. But dating a woman in the 20s, she'll do certain things versus dating a woman in 40. You can't, she's not going to bend on certain things. She's where she's at. She knows what she wants.
Bro, I'm not feeling that. I'm just letting you know that right now.
No, but hold on, it's not even the truth. That goes with all ages.
I want to hear Honeybee. Go ahead, because your face is saying it all.
Let me finish.
I can't
that goes with all ages. Let's address the real elephant in the room.
What did he just say?
No.
So I'm saying that to say that yes, it can be used for manipulation as well. Like, you gotta
no, you're right. It can be, but that's why I said that it can be used for manipulation. That's not the overall goal. But one major factor, and it is bias, is that men have a different timeline from women. Yep. Whether we want to accept that or not, men have a different biological timeline from women. Meaning that a man could be 60 years old and drop out a kid. A woman cannot do that. You know what I mean?
Yes, we can. Where you at?
Listen, but hold on. Come on, ladies. Please, ladies.
No, yes,
I'm not saying it's impossible, but let's be very serious here, real quick.
What?
If it's a real statistic, let's listen. Let's listen. It's a real statistic. If you're having hold on. This is science, though. I'm just saying this is science. If you're having a child 40 and up, your child has the higher risk of having more disabilities and things of that nature. I'm not saying
babies over the age of 40 and healthy ones too.
Yes.
I'm not saying it's more
I mean,
relevant now with technology, but it's a scientific
Generally, yeah,
fact.
that's it. Yeah.
I'm not trying to bash anybody. I'm just
Maybe
being
back
honest.
in the 1970s, even 80s. Yeah, but we're in 2024. Times have changed. Technology is awesome.
I didn't say you couldn't have. I'm just simply. Well, let me ask y'all a real question. Let me ask the ladies a real question. Do you think as far that we're on the same time clock, men and women?
Well, we're definitely not on the same time clock.
No.
And to your responses, I would say with every age comes wisdom, experience, and lessons, experience, and wisdom, right? So what you do in your 20s, you're not going to do in your 30s. What you do in your 30s, you're not going to do in your 40s, and so forth and so on. In response to your answers, I seem to think there are men that's older than you right now, still with the BS.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the pee in the water.
Absolutely, right? I agree with that.
I
don't disagree with that. No way.
If they're 50 or if they're 25, and I'm still trying to figure it out because they're playing games that they would have. That 5-year-old was.
Right.
I agree with that 100%.
Okay.
I can tell you that as a man, that like there are many men out there that play many games that are very immature. I don't disagree with that. I'm just talking about just generally speaking, but I agree with that 100%. In fact, in today's society, if we're being honest, it's more common that men are playing more games because the truth is, whether you want to talk about a lot as much, the standards are way different than it was 20 years ago. Like we're allowed, and I'm saying this as a man, we're allowed to get away with way more than we did 20 years ago. The standard, the bar is way lower. You know what I mean? Way lower in general. How did it happen? A lot of it's systematic. A lot of it is liberation, which is fine. But the point is, the bar is way lower. Absolutely, I agree with you. Men get away with murder these days. But, you know, we being fair, though, like, it's still, you know, some women still had to allow this behavior to get to where we're at now. Like, it's part of the process. It takes two. It's not one-sided, to be honest with us. It took two parties to get to this level. But absolutely, I agree. There's many immature men. And again, we get away with it way more now because the standards 20 years ago from now is way different. You know, today's day and age, like Tiana said earlier in the chat, you know, girls younger, the first thing to say is Cash App. They can be bought. Like, that's a real thing, like legitimately.
Yeah.
Like, that's the main post on social media of young girls. Like, oh, how much you gonna pay? How much you gonna pay? Cash at me real quick. Oh, he could Cash at me with something. Like, that's a real thing. So back in the day, women weren't able to be bought as much as is today. Right. And that's because of social media. That's because of materialistic type of stuff that's blown up. And the fact that everybody got cell phones and everybody got all these devices and all this materialistic type of stuff. But that is a true thing.
Yeah, so we're gonna wrap it up. And so to Rod's point, most men, to be honest with you, most older men aren't looking for younger women for just simply for those reasons. To be honest,
she a headache. you cost money and you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, like so.
Oh, maybe I know.
All right, so
we definitely need a part 2 because I would like for us.
I might be a part 3.
Yeah,
I would like for us to continue this conversation because not only did we touch on what's out there in the 40s, I would love to have hear from Kay. Being that he's single, what the women are, you know, now at his age range, and I would like to elaborate more on what I've come across. Also, I would like for us to flip it and talk about these young men who wants to date older women.
Okay,
that's a thing. That's a thing. So I think we should
come in for the 50-year-old.
And I think a part of that conversation is too, if I may add, is ladies, make sure that on your list of needs, when you're looking for, you know, what it is that you're looking for, make sure you add your safe space, your safety, and security.
That's important.
I hear the men say provide and protect. I don't feel that they do that very well. Make sure that you hold him to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fair.
Just a few comments, guys, because we got to include our audience. Stephen Morant says, I would have to relearn how to date now in my 40s because my divorce is not final. Plus, I just got visitation and joint custody of my 7-year-old son last week. So I'm open to get your feedback. He wants some feedback on getting back into dating in his 40s now that he's newly divorced or soon to be divorced, and he'll be basically being a co-parenting. What's some advice you can give to him as somebody that's newly dating and co-parenting?
I would
mean,
say
from a-
don't date.
Mhm.
Period.
Don't date.
It just the
Don't
same
date.
for women,
Don't bring
same
home
for
the
men.
girlfriend. Don't
Yes,
don't
don't
call the
date.
girlfriend. Don't be on the phone with the girlfriend in front of your still wife. Wait, make sure that your wife is your ex when you decide to start dating again. And before you even start to date, heal from
That's
that
what I was gonna say.
relationship. Seek therapy, because let me tell you, you're fucked up somewhere along the line. You getting a divorce, right?
Yeah. I like Hillary though, boy. I like Hillary.
My
though. Like,
t-shirt says it all, y'all. Make yourself a priority for men and women. Okay.
All right. A few more. So Rhonda says the 20s nowadays are showing all of their goods, leaving nothing to the imagination.
Mhm.
We need to correct that right away. Let our women know their worth. Denise, shout out to Denise. She said projection can come from all parties. And of course, Rhonda had to let you know that you tripping tonight, Ra. Tawanda says when you do too much, the man will take advantage of you.
Mm.
If he does not have any intentions on making you his wife. And she says they will use your trauma against you.
Yes.
Heal before seeking a long-term entanglement. And
Yep.
Nikki says, Tiana, you are speaking facts. Women, be your honest self in the beginning. To be fair, we can't wait until we have the man to then ask for what we want, what we really wanted all along. So she's saying, ask in the beginning. Don't hide what you really wanted all along. Be open and be honest from the front, from the jump.
All right. That's it.
That's our time. We have a lot more comments, but we're gonna definitely make this a part 2, so that we can answer more comments. It looks like we had a few of our audience need some advice. So I really feel bad that we're leaving them hanging, but we will be back next Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you meet us here. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're trying to build our followers. We are looking to have 500 followers, I'm going to say, before the end of the year is over. Right? Okay. Yeah, that's what we want. So push, share. If this has helped you, like I said, please share. If you are watching it live, please put a comment in one of the chats. And if you are watching this on the replay, just type in replay so that we can know that you watched it. Honey B, thank you so much for being a guest tonight.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Yes.
And we hope you can come back for part 2.
Yes.
Yeah, let me know, girl. Let me know, because
All right, guys. Have a good night.
All right,
nice
have a good
seeing
night.
everyone. Thank you.
Just slide this.